Hi Booktube, this is Shelly and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you are here, and today we're going to be doing an episode of What's Cheering Me Up Right Now. Now, what's cheering me up right now is a video series that Hannah Louise Poston created. She is a beauty YouTuber. What I love about her channel is that it feels like watching a long literary essay unfold about beautiful things, beauty at large, the beauty industry, and then more specifically makeup and buying makeup in regards to whether it's good for you to purchase something, whether we should have these large collections. She brings all of these ideas up, and I've just loved her channel for a while, and she does these videos about what's cheering me up right now. And she goes through the things that are giving her joy at the moment, and I always thought this was a great idea, and so I'm gonna borrow the idea and tell you what is cheering me up right now. So let's go ahead and get into the video. The first thing that comes to mind that's cheering me up right now is my garden. I am not a gardener. I'm not typically an outdoorsy person. I like being outdoors, but my activities are usually reading outside or just sitting outside and enjoying the atmosphere. But gardening has never appealed to me until this year. And my garden has just been giving me so much joy. I look at my plants every day. I check to see if they need to be watered. I check their moods. So sometimes they're all bright and happy, my little flowers or my hydrangeas. And then there are times where they're just kind of sad and drooping, and I know that they need water. I love taking care of them and watching the blooms come in. It's just been giving me so much joy to have a garden. I actually wonder why I didn't do it sooner. So if you're ever thinking about doing a garden, this is my encouragement, my gentle encouragement, that you just go ahead and do it if you have the space, because it's just given me so much joy, and the joy that it gives me is daily. I look at my little garden every single day, and I love it. The next thing cheering me up right now is kombucha. Kombucha, I've come to realize, is a very polarizing drink that I found. It is known as a healthy drink, one that's good for gut health and inflammation. You can do your own reading on it. I was interested in the process of making kombucha. A few years ago, I saw my mom make kombucha, and I had a whole bunch of hers when I was visiting her, and so it must have planted a little seed in my mind about kombucha. And more recently, I was going to the grocery store and buying kombucha, which can be quite expensive, and I didn't want to spend the money on bottled kombucha when I could just make it myself. So I told my mom that I really wanted to make my own kombucha in one of our calls that we do weekly, and she kindly, for my birthday, sent me all of the things to make kombucha. So kombucha is a probiotic drink. It's made with a SCOBY. SCOBY is an acronym for the words symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So it's this alive organism, little bacteria growth, and it looks disgusting. It looks like a huge thing of snot. And similar to making sourdough bread and needing to feed the yeast every day for your sourdough starter, you also need to feed your SCOBY, or at least I need to feed my SCOBY, not every day, but what I do is I make a huge batch of black tea with sugar in it because sugar is what feeds the SCOBY. You pour that in with your SCOBY and some starter tea in I use a jug with a spout, and then you let it feed on the sugar and the tea for 7 to 10 days. And after 7 to 10 days, it has vinegared a little bit, so, and it actually creates bubbles. After the 7 to 10 days, when your kombucha, or at least when my kombucha, is at the flavor that I like and the sugary level that I like, you can actually bottle it. And I got these bottles at Goodwill when I started this. It was just total happenstance and luck to get these bottles, which was so cool. And you can flavor it. So in this one I have some ginger, and you can let the kombucha sit and feed off the ginger for a couple of days, and then you'll have this sort of vinegary, ginger, sweet black tea with some carbonation. So it's really neat. It's a super neat process. The next thing that's cheering me up right now is my percolator. This is a vintage Pyrex percolator that my husband got me a few years ago for my birthday. It is so beautiful. It brews coffee. And what happened is all of these pieces are glass and breakable. And let me see. What happened is that this coffee filter right here, I had it sitting, I just washed it. I had it sitting on the edge of my counter, and I bumped it and it broke, it shattered. So for a week I didn't have, I'm going to put this away. For a week I didn't have the ability to make coffee in this percolator, and I really missed it. This makes up to 9 cups of coffee, and sometimes I make all 9 cups, and it's something that my husband and I will sip on all day. Watching the coffee brew is so cool and so beautiful because the water down here starts clear, and as it boils, it comes up through this stem and over the filter, so it comes up and over, and the water goes, I distracted myself, and the water comes down through the coffee grounds and then drops back into this main section here. So slowly you can see the water turn from clear to this beautiful, rich, dark brown, and that process is just lovely and beautiful. And what's cheering me up is that I was able to find the replacement basket that I broke. I ordered it off of eBay, and it got here within a couple of days. And so, you know, this coffee pot that I missed, especially through the weekend, I was able to use again this morning, and that really just gave me so much joy and really put a smile on my face. I was so glad to have it again. The last 2 things that are cheering me up right now are things that you can watch. The first one feels a little bit silly to say out loud, but I am watching old reruns of the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah Winfrey is such a delight to watch. She is thoughtful and insightful, and she reminds her audience of things that I don't think get mentioned as much now in the media. I think the conversation now keeps on going. Mostly what I'm talking about is that she reminds us to slow down, take a breath, enjoy the moment that we're in, learn from others. And these are all things that we know in our hearts, but sometimes, at least for me, I will forget it or I will let it go. And so watching her shows again are amazing. It's amazing. I have such wonderful memories of watching her as a, 11, 12, through my teens, watching her show at 4 o'clock every day with my mom, And so going back, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the episode about, you know, the woman who has a lot of plastic surgery, or it's been really great to catch up with Oprah. She has been feeding my soul and my heart about the things that she's saying, and it's just been giving me a lot of joy. And I'm not talking about even new episodes of her show. I'm talking about old reruns that were last aired in like 2000 or 2004, 2006. So I'm watching the old stuff, and not old because she's been on forever. I mean, she's been on television for a long time, but old enough that they're not on air. They're all just reruns, and who doesn't love Oprah? I love Oprah. Okay, the last thing that's cheering me up right now is cheering me up in a very roundabout way. It is the show Chernobyl. A quick synopsis on Chernobyl. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant in 1986 had a terrible disaster. Amid, or part of that disaster, was that the power plant was emitting poisonous gases throughout the air, and that event had some really atrocious, awful, and like heartbreaking consequences to it. I'm not really giving much away. All of this happens within the first few minutes of the first episode. It blew my mind. I didn't know that such a disaster could happen on our planet, and it really opened my mind up to nuclear power plants and this very specific history in the Soviet Union that I really didn't know much about, and that people haven't talked about as much as maybe it should or it ought to be talked about. So that was what one of the things that I really loved about the show. So the cinematography of the show, the visual storytelling, even though it was really difficult to watch at times, and the fact that it was so well done, and that I learned something about history and nuclear power plants and disasters that I would have never otherwise known, really cheered me up. It's been a really long time since I watched a show that was so engaging and so interesting. So if you haven't watched Chernobyl and that sounds interesting to you, I would strongly encourage anybody to watch it. I believe it's on HBO Max. That's where we watched it, but it's just an incredible show to experience. All right, and you probably know what I'm going to ask you, but what's cheering you up right now? What's putting a smile on your face or making your heart leap with joy? I want to know. Tell me in the comments below, and I will see you all in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.